Part 40. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 391. The Wolf Demon King looked at Amos, who was being madly focused on in mid-air, and his mouth twitched. He was even worse off than himself. How could he save himself? When he thought of this, he was immediately disheartened. On the other side, Amos was being focused on in mid-air, and his HP dropped rapidly. However, some strange things happened from time to time. That is, when Amos was attacked, spider webs would pop out of his body, binding the attacker and holding him. In an instant, about 1/10 of the undead were bound by spider webs and could not move. Oh! Is it the second passive effect of Amos's ring? It looks good, Yang Tian praised. Praise is praise, but that feature is not a threat to the skeleton mage or the Cerberus. Binding only restricts movement. Skeleton mage and Cerberus are both long-range output. Even if they can't move, so what? Just hit them. After a while, under fierce concentrated fire, Amos and the Wolf Demon King both fell down, and a large number of items exploded respectively. Finally done, Yang Tian smiled slightly, waved his hand, and dispersed all the undead, along with the dark fire domain and the dark descent. The sun shone in, the earth rejuvenated, everything returned to normal, and Yang Tian and Adis were left with many spoils of war. Cleaning up the spoils, the harvest was quite rich, mainly, Amos's hero soul *1, Amos's ring, and the blood of the Wolf Demon King. Wolf Demon King blood, 3 colors/consumables after use, the attributes are improved, and the blood skill Bloodthirst is obtained. Bloodthirst, blood skill instant, within 3 seconds, the damage caused to the enemy in melee combat will be restored by 30%, cooling time 60 seconds. This blood is good, do you want it, doctor? Yang Tian asked. Adis shook his head. Although he was a spirit king, he did not have a spirit level blood, but only spirit essence. Spirit level blood is generally stronger than spirit essence, at least there are more blood skills. But even so, Adis still shook his head to refuse. He preferred research to fighting, and it was not important to him whether he could improve his fighting ability or not. Yet, Yang Tian nodded, not caring, and collected the blood of the Wolf Demon King by himself, and then took out Amos's ring. It was a small ring, but there were 3 rays of light lingering on it, beautiful and magnificent, a spiritual weapon. Multiple hero fragments with the same name will automatically merge. With 6 fragments, Amos's ring will automatically merge and grow into a 3-color spiritual weapon. Amos's ring, 3 colors/hero fragment. Level 150. Equipment type, ring. Basic physical defense add 1.2 million. Basic magic add 1.2 million. Strength add 150,000. Agility add 150,000. Additional passive, manipulate spider silk, no CD. Additional passive, when attacked, there is a 10% chance to reflect the spider web and bind the attacker, no CD. Fusion addition, for every 10 MP the holder has, 1 point of intelligence is increased. Note, hero equipment completion degree 6/7. A spiritual weapon is a spiritual weapon after all. Let's not talk about the additional special effects. The basic attribute blessing alone is quite terrifying. Yang Tian is now level 168. His equipment and gems are all 150-165 level royal equipment quality, which can be said to be quite luxurious. After all, he has not been in vain this year. He has killed countless royal beasts. Looking at the national server, his equipment can be said to be the best, occupying the equipment ranking list of the Chinese theater. However, any one of them can only be regarded as garbage compared with this 3-color ring. The basic attributes of the blessing are not at the same level at all. It's a pity that the basic attributes of Amos's ring are strength and agility, not intelligence and spirit, otherwise it would be more comfortable. System, Congratulations on your equipment. Amos's ring ranking number 1 in the Chinese theater equipment ranking list. Do you want to display the ID? As the system prompt sounded in his ears, Yang Tian smiled faintly. Isn't this a matter of course? Nowadays, a 165 level royal weapon can be ranked first in the Chinese theater equipment list, let alone a 150 level spiritual weapon? Shou Yangtian has been famous for many years and is well known among the high-level players. He has long stopped playing anonymously. What's more, the equipment that ranked first in the national server equipment list before was also his. As Amos's ring rose to the top, other equipment just moved down in order. Only the last piece is missing. After it is completed, it will be a 6-color fairy weapon. By then, with this piece of equipment alone, even if God's left hand is the Fairy King, I can crush him in a single fight. It's a pity that he doesn't dare to fight me now. Yang Tian smiled secretly. Although he is firmly sitting on the first throne of the national server, Yang Tian has not slacked off. His goal has been to be the world's #1 from the beginning, and he must leave the world's second strongest person far behind. After all, if you can't even do this little thing, how can you talk about defeating the alien Zerg and uprooting the Zerg? System, you have discovered the ancient desert. Locking the coordinates of Amos's last heroic soul, Yang Tian once again came to the ancient desert, rolling yellow sand, endless. The air in the ancient desert is very dry, and even cacti have become food to quench thirst. However, the cacti in the ancient desert are not just plants, some are mutant monsters. Yang Tianadis just came over and saw a group of sand scorpions surrounding a huge cactus in front of him. They raised their claws and were about to decompose the cactus and absorb water. At this moment, the cactus that was standing like a wooden stake actually moved, and it grew a head and limbs instantly, as if it had mutated. The cactus monster swung his fist and hit the sand scorpion group in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, it knocked the sand scorpion group away, and then fell into the yellow sand and was submerged. The environment here is bad. This is the first time I have come to such a place. Ada saw the scene in front of him and said. As strong as he is naturally not interested in cactus monsters and sand scorpions. The bad environment he refers to is the ancient desert itself. Doctor, even if we are spirit kings, we need to drink water here constantly, otherwise we will die of thirst. Yang Tian smiled. This is not the first time he has come to the ancient desert. He has prepared water sources long ago. Seeing that Adis did not have any, he gave some to the latter. The two of them drank water while moving forward. The ancient desert is boundless. Although it is only a level 150 map, this is only the lower limit. In other words, the weakest monster here is a level 150 lord, and the strongest is level 200, which is generally hidden in the depths of the desert. A few hours later, Yang Tianadis came to a rainbow mirror. Most of the mirrors are copies. At a glance, they look like a mirror. The mirror reflects some scenes in the dungeon. This rainbow mirror also reflects some scenes, including grasslands, forests, and volcanoes. No matter what kind of scene it is, there are many rainbows on it, which are beautiful and magnificent, like a fantasy. Fantasy world, you need to be level 180 and have a fantasy world ticket to enter. Obviously, Fantasy World is the name of this dungeon. Yang Tianadis looked around casually for a while, and then a phantom figure floated over. It was the heroic soul of Amos, who came uninvited. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 392. Of course, Yang Tian locked Amos's hero soul nearby through the soul exploration instrument. Now that he took the initiative to come here, it was not surprising. However, Yang Tian was still quite nervous. The fantasy world was a level 180 copy. Could Amos's hero soul also be level 180? That would be bad. Yang Tian is now confident of dealing with a level 180 Spirit King, but, if the hero fragments are also level 180. After the 7 fragments are merged, Amos Hero Ring, a 6-color fairy weapon, would be level 180. Yang Tian is only level 168 now, and he can't wear that ring at all. Hero fragments with the same name will automatically merge, and there is no way to stop it. Kill him, and he can't wear the ring, let alone the fairy weapon, even the spirit weapon is gone. If he doesn't kill him, will this opportunity be missed in vain? Yang Tian was conflicted and focused. He used the Eye of Truth to take a look at Amos, and then he felt relieved. It turned out that the last hero soul of Amos was only a level 160 Spirit King. Fantasy world, it is said that wishes can be fulfilled. It is a pity that I have never been to the fantasy world, and I have been on the battlefield all my life. It is a lifelong regret. Amos glanced at Yang Tian and sighed. It is indeed a pity, but you are a dead soul, so you don't have to worry about it. Yang Tian smiled, waved his hand to summon the army of skeleton mages, and focused their fire. Countless magic skills hit Amos, causing a large area of damage. At the same time, Amos was attacked and automatically reflected the spider web to bind some of the undead. As before, the bound undead just couldn't move. As long-range AP, they did not affect the output, and they focused their fire without thinking. You actually challenged this immortal, you really overestimated your ability. Amos was madly focused, but his HP was super high, and he was not affected much for the time being. He roared and fought back madly. The hand was used as a claw, and every time he waved, a skeleton mage would fall to the ground and turn into a forest of bones. Demon Net. Suddenly, countless spider silk shot out from Amos' fingers, and dots became lines, lines became surfaces, and surfaces became webs. A hemispherical spider web of dozens of yards flew out, catching hundreds of undead in an instant. Amos stretched out his hand and pulled, and hundreds of undead were pulled in front of him. At this time, hundreds of undead overlapped into a figure. Takezu is a virtual online game with a realistic picture, at least 3D or above. In other words, each unit will occupy the terrain, and the collisions between the units cannot overlap. To put it simply, if it is a 2D online game, if someone blocks the way ahead, you can control the character to go straight through. But Takezu is not like that. Units collide with each other and cannot pass through. If someone blocks the way ahead, you either chop to death or step over it, or go around it. But at this moment, Amos's move actually overlapped hundreds of units. Sword Dance. Amos crossed his hands and spun rapidly, generating sword energy to cut the target. After dense damage emerged, hundreds of skeleton mages were all crushed to the ground. It appears, the strongest ability of Amos's ring. Yang Tian's eyes lit up. Whether it is controlling spider silk or reflecting spider webs when attacked, they are just the basic passive of Amos's ring, and that skill is the real trump card. Control multiple units together, then the single output becomes a group output, very strong, Yang Tian secretly praised. After multiple units overlap, Amos casually cuts and all overlapping units are damaged. This method is very powerful. However, your strongest killer move only solves some of my soldiers. Yang Tian smiled coldly, waved his hand, summoned the Soul King Skeleton Mage, and hundreds of hell three-headed dogs, and once again madly focused on Amos. In the group fight, Yang Tian also summoned a group of self-destructing spiders to consume Amos's life. Amos's hero soul state, is immune to physical attacks. It is worth mentioning that the self-destructing spider is also a magic output, but the self-destructing spider must touch the target to explode. If the target is in the air, the self-destructing spider cannot cause damage. There is no doubt that Amos's hero soul has the ability to fly, but he lacks long-range output, so he must kill the undead on the ground. This undoubtedly gives the self-destructing spider an opportunity. After a while, Amos's hero soul finally couldn't bear the burden and was beaten to death by many undead. exploding a large amount of loot. Yang Tian stepped forward to collect the fragments and automatically merged with the fragments of the same name in his hand. Amos's Hero Ring, 6 color/hero equipment. Level 160. Equipment type, Ring. Basic physical defense add 1.8 million. Basic magic add 1.8 million. Strength add 200,000. Agility add 220,000. Additional passive, manipulate spider silk, no CD. Additional passive, when attacked, there is a 30% chance to reflect the spider web and bind the attacker, no CD. Additional skills, demon suppressing web. Fusion addition, for every 10 MP points of the holder, the intelligence increases by 1 point. A small ring, surrounded by 6 different color gems, makes people know at a glance that it is an incredible treasure. Yang Tian was used to keeping a low profile, so he quickly hid his light. In an instant, the light of Amos's hero ring disappeared, and it was black and simple, with Amos's face engraved on it. It looked ordinary, but it was actually very extraordinary. The attributes have been greatly enhanced. Not only has the magic net been added, but the second additional passive has also been increased a lot. Yang Tian smiled slightly. The second additional passive before, when attacked, 10% of the spider web is reflected. Current hero equipment, when attacked, 30% chance to reflect spider webs. Yang Tian is just an undead mage, with fragile skin and thin blood, but he has a bone shield, the second passive of Amos's hero ring, plus the passive of Undercurrent. It's even more terrifying than a tank. Yang Tian is not afraid at all. You dare to attack me over the undead? Sorry, you will only die faster. System, congratulations on your equipment. Amos's hero ring ranking number 1 in the China War Zone equipment ranking. Do you want to display the ID? Amos's ring, 3 colors/hero fragments/7ths of completion, is already the first in the China War Zone equipment ranking. Now the fragments are completely merged, the 3 colors become 6 colors, the name is changed, and a system prompt still sounds. Yang Tian smiled and clicked on the China War Zone equipment ranking. He found that he occupied 7 or 8 of the top 10 places. The first place is the 6-color fairy weapon, the only 6-color fairy weapon in the China War Zone, and the second place is also his equipment, which is only a level 165 Emperor weapon. It is conceivable how huge the gap is. Yang Tian's fairy weapon, attributes, special effects, are comparable to half of others' equipment, or even full equipment. Taegzu has been launched for 3 years. At this stage, a level 160 fairy weapon is very scary. But in a year or two, let alone others, Yang Tian will become a level 200 god, and he will more or less get a few artifacts. Amos's hero ring is very strong, but it is probably weaker than the artifact in terms of attributes and special effects. But in any case, even if he has a level 200 artifact ring, Yang Tian does not plan to change it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 393. Because this ring is not just Amos' hero ring, it also integrates the magic conversion ring and inherits the latter's only passive. That passive, that is, every 10 MP increases 1 point of intelligence, is the core of Yang Tian. Without this passive, even if he is full of artifacts, he cannot be invincible in the late stage of Taegzu. On the contrary, with this passive, even if he lacks 1 or 2 artifacts in the late stage of Taegzu, he can still call the wind and rain and be omnipotent. In other words, Yang Tian now finally has an ultimate equipment, that is, equipment that he will wear for a lifetime and never change. After cleaning up the spoils, Yang Tian and Adis came to the Water Alliance camp in the Sea of Ruins and joined Xiao Jin. Yang Tian took out 6 parts of Amos's soul and gave them to Xiao Jin to devour. The latter was not polite and devoured them all, and then a red light rose up under his feet. Xiao Jin roared and roared in the red light, and his life level changed. After a while, the red light dissipated, and Xiao Jin had changed his appearance and temperament. It turned out that as the Thunder Skeleton King, it had purple gold bones all over its body, which was noble and extraordinary. Now, it was like a dark blue demon that came out of hell, with dark blue spiritual fire surging all over its body. Its body shape was similar to that of the Spirit King Skeleton Warrior and the Spirit King Skeleton Mage, but it looked more noble with a crown on its head. Skeleton Spirit King Yang Tian nodded, not surprised. Before, Xiao Jin had already devoured Amos's first hero soul, and now he has devoured all the remaining souls in succession. It was equivalent to swallowing Amos's entire soul. It should be noted that Amos was an immortal king, and Xiao Jin devoured all his souls, and it was almost certain that he would evolve into a spirit king. Yang Tian was a little surprised that Xiao Jin's nature had changed. He used to be the Thunder Skeleton King, and had a rare light attribute among many undead spirits. However, now he is the Skeleton Spirit King, and has become a dark attribute. Amos is a dark attribute. Could it be that Xiao Jin also became a dark attribute after swallowing his soul? Yang Tian thought to himself, then laughed and shook his head. He knew nothing about soul evolution. There are 3 ways of evolution in Taixu. First, bloodline evolution, including spiritual essence and immortal energy. For example, if an emperor beast swallows spiritual bloodline or spiritual essence, it is very likely to evolve into a spiritual beast. Even if swallowing one does not work, swallowing more will definitely work. Second, anger evolution, the probability is extremely low, almost 0. Third, soul evolution, its conditions are harsh, and individual souls must mutate and have the ability to swallow other souls. In the past and present lives, Yang Tian only saw Xiao Jin with this special ability. Your appearance has changed a lot, and it seems inappropriate to call you Xiao Jin, but after a few years of getting along, it will be difficult to change a new name. Yang Tian looked at Xiao Jin and smiled. Xiao Jin bowed slightly, and his heavy metallic voice was full of respect. It doesn't matter, the master can still call me Xiao Jin. After the Spirit King, Xiao Jin's life level transformed, as if he was much more mature and stable. The only thing that remains unchanged is its absolute loyalty to Yang Tian. Yeah, Yang Tian smiled and nodded. Now, with the soul exploration instrument in hand, Yang Tian can collect various heroic souls and feed Xiao Jin to make the latter stronger. Just as he was about to set off, Xianyuan Longer and Alice ran over. Taixu is consistent with reality, and the timeline is 24 hours a day. In 3 years, Xianyuan Longer and Alice have grown into attractive beauties. With long wine-red hair falling to her waist, delicate face and snow-white skin, and towering breasts, even though the armor can vaguely see the attractive curves, Xianyuan Longer is more beautiful than before, and more tempting to commit crimes. Alice is petite, still the original blonde beauty. Even now, she is only 19 years old. Looking at the 2 beautiful beauties, Yang Tian felt a faint pressure. Both women are fairy kings, and their strength is completely different from their appearance. It is said that there is a new city lord in Half Moon City, who is relatively weak. We can just take his head and gain the trust of Grandpa Yinlong. Then you can also get the blood of the dragon of our Xianyuan clan. Xianyuan Longer stared at Yang Tian and suddenly said. Oh, Yang Tian nodded. Killing the city lord is no joke, it is equivalent to slaughtering the city, and it is impossible to do it without anyone knowing. By then, the Empire will find out the identity of the murderer and launch an endless bounty and hunt him down. However, Yang Tian doesn't care. Nowadays, he rarely moves in the Empire. Even if he is hunted down by the Empire with a bounty, what does it matter? You can't find me. Shall we go now? Xianyuan Longer tried. Yeah. By the way, I forgot to tell you that the city lord is called Thunder Dragon, named Zhang Yun, who was the one who arrested me. At that time, he was the deputy city lord of Xinwu City, and he was just promoted to the city lord of Half Moon City in recent days. Xianyu and Longer apologized a little and told her little trick. At the beginning, when Yang Tian and Longer met for the first time, she was locked in a cage in an auction house. And the person who beat her up and sent her to the auction was none other than City Lord Zhang Yun. Well, that guy really deserves to be killed. Yang Tian nodded. He Xianyu and Longer smiled. Yang Tian's generosity made her quite happy. Half a day later, Yang Tian, Xianyu and Longer, Alice, Xiaojian, Carrie, and Dr. Edith, a total of 6 people, came to Half Moon City. Half Moon City is a relatively remote main city of the Xinwu Empire, and the city is much smaller than the main cities such as Ping'an City and Xinwu City. Even so, it is still the territory of the Xinwu Empire and is valued and protected by the empire. The streets of the main city are full of patrolling soldiers, which is evident. Compared with the serious and old-fashioned soldiers, the citizens are much more peaceful, and there is no change because of the arrival of Yang Tian and others. The market is still lively, and people chat and bargain, appearing amiable. The empire is guilty, but the disaster does not extend to the civilians. For Xianyuan and Longer, the Xinwu Empire is one of the murderers who destroyed the Xianyuan Empire, but even so, she can't hate the ordinary people of the Xinwu Empire. Let's go, our target is only the city lord. Yang Tian waved his hand, and a group of people walked towards the city lord's mansion. The city lord's mansion is towering, and the gate outside the mansion alone is 10 meters high, which shows its luxury. Outside the gate, there is a soldier guarding on each side, both of them are 170 level lords. Stop! The city lord's mansion ahead, no idle people are allowed to enter, and those who violate the rules will be killed. A soldier pointed a gun at Yang Tian and others and shouted loudly. As soon as the voice fell, a row of 10 black knights suddenly appeared. After a collective charge, the 2 soldiers fell to the ground and died before they could even scream. The black knights were royal beasts, and they were ahead in rank and number. They killed the 2 soldiers instantly. The bodies of the 2 soldiers lay at the door, and some things exploded, but Yang Tian and others had no interest in them and rushed straight into the city lord's mansion. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 394. The city lord's mansion looks majestic from the outside, and it is a different world from the inside, and it is as luxurious as the imperial city. There are houses, buildings, flowers, trees, ponds, and squares. At this time, countless soldiers were rehearsing on the square. After discovering that Yang Tian and his party had broken in, they immediately shouted and sounded the alarm, and quickly surrounded the intruders. Without a word of nonsense, the 10 Black Knight vanguards, under the control of Yang Tian's will, directly rushed out to fight with the soldiers. Afterwards, Yang Tianlong and others also took action, and the soldiers fell at a speed visible to the naked eye, becoming cold corpses. Who broke into my city lord's mansion? After a while, a fierce roar came from the main mansion, and then a general-like man rushed out of the door and came in like lightning. Obviously, he is at least a spiritual king. Zhang Yun was dressed in black armor, holding a gun and standing proudly in the air, like an ancient oriental man, with a ponytail tied behind his head and long hair fluttering. From the appearance, Zhang Yun seemed to be a knight. But after the knight was promoted to the Spirit King, his position was quite awkward. Because the Spirit King already had the ability to fly, but it was difficult to find a flying mount, or a spirit beast mount. Spiritual beasts can fly. If the knight did not have a mount, many combination skills could not be used, and the combat power dropped a lot. But the Spirit King is the Spirit King, Zhang Yun would not be weak anyway. At this time, Yang Tian and others had killed all the soldiers, standing in a row opposite Zhang Yun on the white cloud, testing each other. After a breath, Zhang Yun recognized Xian Yuan Longer's identity, his eyes narrowed, and said, "It turned out to be you. Descendant of the Xian Yuan clan, when I caught you and auctioned you, I thought you would become a slave and live a miserable life. I didn't expect you to be so lucky, not only living so well, but now you have found a group of helpers to seek revenge on me." Zhang Yun talked freely, and his gaze was full of confidence and playfulness. As the lord of the city, he is a model of the people with a high position and power. But what Zhang Yun said was so outrageous, arresting people, auctioning them off as slaves, this was actually done by a city lord. However, Zhang Yun didn't think so. Now that all the soldiers in the mansion were dead, this word couldn't be spread. As for Yang Tian and others, he was confident that he could kill them all. God is fair. Today I found you and finally I can get revenge. Xian Yuan Longer had a cold temperament. Revenge? Are you kidding? Now I have obtained the blood of the Thunder Dragon, and I have achieved success in cultivation. I have already entered the level of Spirit King. You mortals, I really don't care about you. Zhang Yun laughed wildly, and the three-color treasure light lingered around his body, and at the same time, lightning flashed, and the power was terrifying. Immediately, he lowered his eyes and stared at Xian Yuan Longer, and a flash of lust and evil flashed in his eyes. 3 years later, Xian Yuan Longer became more and more charming, and he was so charming that he was restless. You know, 3 years ago, Xian Yuan Longer was 18 years old and was already extremely beautiful. But if the maid is clean, the price will be much higher. At that time, for the sake of profit, Zhang Yun did not move. Who would have thought that there would be such an opportunity 3 years later? Little beauty, you are dressed brightly, you must not be a slave, your body is still very clean, right? Zhang Yun laughed, staring at Xian Yuan Longer and said, "Well, if you are willing to follow me, and the little blonde beauty, I can spare the others." Zhang Yun's heart was excited. Now he is the lord of the city, with no shortage of money, and he can enjoy it to the fullest. Dirty ants, frogs at the bottom of the well, sitting in the well and looking at the sky. Have you ever thought that since I dare to come to you for revenge, how can I not have confidence? Xian Yuan Longer snorted coldly, and aroused 6-color light lingering around her body, with awe-inspiring fairy spirit. Zhang Yun was shocked. He was in the sky, but his momentum was much lower. You are actually the immortal king now." Zhang Yun's eyes twitched wildly, regretting in his heart, and horrified, "Could it be that you are the daughter of Emperor Xian Yuan, the direct descendant of the inner clan?" As mentioned earlier, blood can be inherited, but the probability is not 100%. If the bloodline is spread out, the probability of the direct descendant inheriting the bloodline is generally much higher than that of the side branch. The Xian Yuan family commands the empire and is a royal family with a long history. Naturally, it has spread out, and Emperor Xian Yuan Longer's lineage is the direct descendant. Emperor Xian Yuan is my father. 20 years ago, the Xian Yuan Empire was overthrown. I am the only surviving descendant of the Xian Yuan clan, a descendant of the royal family, Xian Yuan Longer said. Every time she said a word, Zhang Yun's eyes twitched wildly, and regretted in his heart like eating shit. If I had known that you were a descendant of the royal family, I would have forced you to return to the empire to report. How dare you auction it privately? In addition, arresting the descendants of the royal family of the other party is a great achievement. I have been promoted to general and appointed as the city lord. Why did I wait for 3 years? Now there are hidden dangers. I regret it. Why was I so stupid? Forget it, the past cannot be reversed. 3 years ago and now God has finally given me another chance. It is not too late to force you to report to the Empire now. After Zhang Yun figured it out, he activated the blue fighting spirit, and his momentum soared for a while. Humans and humanoid monsters can practice fighting spirit, such as demons. However, players are different from NPCs. Players' fighting spirit depends on the rank of the Empire. Majors can open fighting spirit, and marshals have full-level purple fighting spirit. However, the fighting spirit of NPCs has nothing to do with the rank of the Empire, and they all rely on their own practice. Zhang Yun cultivated blue fighting spirit, 5 times the damage, 5 times the defense, and is considered a very powerful character. On the other hand, the Gravekeeper Black Tiger of the Xinwu Empire, although he cultivated spiritual essence and promoted to the Spirit King, did not cultivate fighting spirit. And that kind of stuff actually wanted to be promoted to general and appointed as the city lord, which is impossible. Under Zhang Yun's provocation, Xianyuan Longer quickly flew into the sky and fought with him. For a while, Xianyuan Longer was unable to gain an advantage. Obviously, Doqi played an important role for Zhang Yun, and he could fight against the immortal king who had no Doqi without being at a disadvantage. Xianyuan royal family is indeed gifted. Damn, if I give you another 2 or 3 years, I'm afraid I will be crushed to death by you like an ant. Unfortunately, I won't give you this opportunity again. Zhang Yun was surrounded by lightning, fighting bravely. Those lightnings were the abilities of his Thunder Dragon bloodline, and there was a 1% chance of paralyzing the target when attacking or being attacked. Xianyuan Longer and Zhang Yun both had a high attack frequency, swinging the sword and the gun countless times in 1 second. During the confrontation between the two sides, Xianyuan Longer was paralyzed many times, and his muscles were stiff and unable to move. Zhang Yun took the opportunity to sweep wildly. Although the paralysis only lasted for minutes, Zhang Yun's attack speed was enough to cause huge damage to Xianyuan Longer. For a moment, Xianyuan Longer's health dropped rapidly. Unfortunately, behind Xianyuan Longer, there was Alice, the Immortal King Priest. The healing capacity of the Immortal King Priest was amazing. Blush blush, every time Xianyuan Longer's health dropped, Alice would forcefully heal it back. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 395. The two powerful men fought in the air, and the air waves swept wildly. The air waves were like a hurricane, and in the blink of an eye, the buildings, flowers, trees, and ponds in the mansion were destroyed. The city lord's mansion caused a huge commotion, and instantly awakened countless soldiers patrolling the streets outside the mansion. The city lord is attacked. Go to the city lord's mansion to rescue the city lord. The soldiers quickly teleported to the front and back doors of the city lord's mansion, and then rushed into the mansion. The main city is like a huge teleportation array, and people in the empire can be teleported to any point outside the building. Roar. As the majestic roar sounded, the army rushed in, with hundreds of people in each wave, and it was endless. However, Yang Tian was well prepared. He summoned the army of undead, and guarded both sides with Xiao Jingkelli and others. Yang Tian's side is full of spirit kings, with explosive combat power. The endless soldiers who rushed in would become corpses in an instant, becoming the experience and benefits of Yang Tian and others. In the mid-air battlefield, Zhang Yun fought for a long time and found that Xianyuan Longer's health value increased and became weak. Another Immortal King Priest, Zhang Yun's mouth twitched, and his heart was cold. Facing two Immortal Kings, one of whom was a nurse, he couldn't fight. Escape? Not possible. Facing the Immortal King, how could he escape? He was just a Spirit King, relying on the Thunder Dragon bloodline, fighting spirit, and his combat power was not inferior to the Immortal King without fighting spirit. However, in terms of speed, he was no match for the Immortal King at all. Escape, just died faster. In despair, Zhang Yun lowered his eyes and looked down, and suddenly found that most of his 100,000 men were dead, and the corpses were all over the ground. He was immediately horrified. Are you kidding? None of those people are mortals. Are they all spirit kings? Zhang Yun was cold from head to toe, and roared, "You idiots, stop fighting, report to the Empire quickly, and call for reinforcements, I can't hold on for long. The soldiers below woke up as if from a dream and took action instantly. Yang Tian and the others frowned. For NPCs, the main city of the empire can be teleported at will, so as long as they are willing, they can call for help very quickly. Quick battle, quick decision, Yang Tian shouted, and everyone gathered all their firepower to besiege Zhang Yun. Xian Yuan longer even activated the dragon transformation, doubling all attributes, and the real combat power is unknown. Boom boom boom. After the horrible explosion, Zhang Yun finally lost all his life breath and fell with the exploded objects. Xian Yuan longer breathed a sigh of relief, lifted the dragon transformation, his face was pale, and he was shaky in the air, and finally fell down. Yang Tian stood up to catch it, rotated a circle to release the force, and landed steadily on the ground. Pa! Yang Tian snapped his fingers casually, and a black knight under his command came out of the crowd. It rode the undead warhorse and came to Zhang Yun's body quickly. With a sweep of the black gun in his hand, he directly cut off his head, and blood splattered all over the ground. Everyone go separately. Longer and I will go to the Dragon Valley, and you will go back to the Water Alliance. Remember, from now on, no one is allowed to enter the Xinwu Empire alone. Yang Tian gave an order, and Xiaojian, Alice, Carrie, and others nodded and teleported away instantly. Yang Tian helped Longer and walked over to pick up Zhang Yun's head and Thunder Dragon bloodline. Although it was a pity that the rest of the spoils were all over the ground, Yang Tian had no time to pick them up. In the current situation, staying for one more second would be very dangerous. Let's go. Yang Tian looked at Xian Yuan Longer and said. After the latter nodded, Yang Tian dispersed all the undead under his command and teleported to the Dragon Valley together. Boom. A few seconds later, countless imperial soldiers filed into the city lord's mansion. Among them, there were quite a few cloudwalkers, each of whom was above the Spirit King, and the pressure was off the charts. It's still a step too late, Zhang Yun has been killed. Looking at Zhang Yun's headless body, one of the black armor generals said in mid-air. Too cruel, even the head was chopped off. Hey, did you guys see the murderer's appearance clearly? In mid-air, another general asked several soldiers from Half Moon City below. The Half Moon City soldiers' scalps tingled, and they hurriedly recalled the appearance of Yang Tian and others. The Empire had professional painters to draw. A moment later, the portraits of Yang Tian and others were all engraved on it, vividly. All unfamiliar faces, very young, with such talent, not serving the Empire, but murdering the city lord. Damn it, a golden armored marshal, surrounded by 9-color treasure light, with a majestic face, looking around, making people feel infinite pressure. Put a reward on these people, once found, kill them without mercy. The marshal snorted coldly, and finally glanced at the portrait, but he couldn't look away. He stared at the portrait of Edith in a trance. How is this possible? It turned out to be Dr. Edith. The marshal took a breath, his heart was in turmoil. Addis does not belong to this era. He is a hero who died in battle hundreds of years ago. Hundreds of years later, dynasties have changed, and things have changed. Countless people remember him and know the name and merits of this hero, but no one recognizes his face. Only the older generation across the ages can recognize him. Spirit kings and above are extraordinary and can live longer with their life levels evolved. Legend has it that the Saint King has a lifespan of 1,000 years. Marshal, do you know this murderer? Asked a black armor general. Murderer? The marshal's eyes darkened, he stared at the general and shouted, do you know the greatness of Dr. Edith? His wise mind, cross-era technology, and the main city containing the teleportation array were designed by him. His contribution is, even if 10 marshals combined are far inferior to 1.5-month city lord, he will be killed. Are you talking to me about the murderer? Such dirty words are blasphemous to his old man. Well. The black armor general's face was sprayed with saliva, and the corner of his mouth suddenly twitched, and he took a few steps back, not daring to say anything. The marshal ignored him and sighed to himself, "Dear Edith has been dead for hundreds of years. Unexpectedly, he is resurrected now. This group of teenagers is not simple. They must have been the ones who dug the grave of Black Tiger some time ago. Killing the city lord, killing the lieutenant general in the hero cemetery, and digging the graves. They have already committed a heinous crime. Even 10 deaths are not enough to atone for their sins. The key is Dr. Edith. He has been resurrected. He may have completed the soul exploration equipment. However, he has come back from the dead and is definitely more willing to serve those teenagers than the Empire. You, spread the word that they can survive, provided that they must serve the Empire. The Empire will arrange for them the rank of general," the marshal ordered to the black armor general from before. The black armor general was startled when he heard this. "Hey, are you mistaken? This way you can avoid death and still get the rank of general for free." "Marshal, this matter is not easy to handle. There is no such precedent. Massacre the city lord, behead the lieutenant general, and dig the hero's cemetery. Not only is it fine, but he also enjoys the rank of general. Who can accept it?" Hagia shook his head, his face full of dissatisfaction. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Super God Undead Lord. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 396. That Dr. Edith, you said he is great, fine, the Empire gave him the rank of general, or even marshal, we would have no objection. But those little ghosts. The black armor general shook his head. At the same time, many generals in the air nodded slightly, agreeing with the black armor general's words. Are you kidding? We have worked hard for decades, even hundreds of years to get the rank of general, but those little ghosts have no merits, and even committed heinous crimes. Why should they be generals? You know shit. The marshal cursed directly, saying, "Do you think I am confused? But that is a stopgap measure. Damn little ghost, do you know the feeling of resurrection from the dead? You don't understand at all. At that time, you will give up everything and only serve the person who gave you a second life." Dr. Edith served the Empire all his life and was praised as a hero after his death. His loyalty is beyond doubt, but he has been dead for hundreds of years. The world has changed. Do you think he will still work for the Empire now? The marshal cursed. The black armor general's face flushed red. He was over 100 years old, but he was called a brat. He couldn't stand it. But the other party was the marshal, so he didn't dare to be presumptuous. The person who resurrected Dr. Edith must be one of those teenagers. To the doctor, the weight of those teenagers far exceeds that of the entire empire. That's why the empire has to accept all those teenagers and give them the best treatment in order to accept the doctor again. If necessary, even the position of marshal must be given up. The marshal's words made the generals, including the black armor general, dumbfounded. Okay, listen to my orders, spread the news, reconcile, and recruit. In any case, the empire needs the doctor's loyalty again, which is very important, said the marshal. Please wait a moment, marshal. Suddenly, a general ran over and said directly to Xian Yuan Longer's portrait, please look at this girl. According to the soldiers of Half Moon City, she has the ability to transform into a dragon. Transform into a dragon. The marshal murmured, and it seemed as if an electric current flashed through his mind, making his eyes grow big instantly. There are many types of dragons, including dinosaurs represented by Tyrannosaurus rex, elemental dragons represented by ice dragons, fire dragons, and thunder dragons, and original dragons such as eastern dragons. And the blood of the original dragons has the ability to transform into dragons. Original dragon? Xianyuan clan? Impossible, the Xianyuan clan, and even the entire Xianyuan empire, were destroyed 20 years ago. Could it be that this girl killed an original dragon and got the original dragon blood? But now original dragons are very rare. The marshal thought hard, and the more he thought about it, the more scared he became. If the girl is really a descendant of Xianyuan, then she is also likely to be a descendant of the Xianyuan royal family, with the highest level of original dragon blood, that is, the blood of the divine dragon. In the current Xinwu Empire, there is no god except the Xinwu Emperor. It is conceivable that a girl with the blood of a divine dragon, who is also the descendant of an enemy, poses a huge threat to them. This matter is too big. I didn't expect Dr. Edith to be mixed up with such a person. The marshal's scalp tingled. The matter was of great importance, and he didn't dare to make a decision. You stay where you are, and the saint will return to the empire to report first. The marshal issued an order and instantly turned into a stream of light and fled. On the other side, Dragon Valley. Under the leadership of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, Yang Tian carried Zhang Yun's bloody head and came to the temple with Xianyuan Long. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was not qualified to enter the temple and waited outside respectfully. Strictly speaking, Yang Tian was not qualified to enter the temple of Dragon Valley. The reason why he was able to enter was obviously thanks to Xianyuan Long. As soon as the two entered, the air in the hall fluctuated, and then an old dragon in black and white emerged. The old dragon looks like an oriental dragon, with a slender and ethereal transparent body. It is not an oriental dragon, that is to say, it is not an original dragon, but an elemental dragon, a dark dragon. According to Xianyuan Long, this hidden dragon is a level 200 holy dragon, the current master of Dragon Valley, and his strength is extraordinary. Grandpa Yinlong, this is the head of the mayor of Half Moon City in the Xinwu Empire. We have passed the test and completed the mission. Xianyuan Long pointed at the head in Yang Tian's hand and said to Yinlong. Well. Yinlong let out a long and vicissitudes of life dragon roar, saying, "It's okay, throw away the dirty head, don't defile the temple." Yang Tian nodded when he heard this, and threw the head out of the temple. The Tyrannosaurus Rex suddenly raised his head and swallowed the head in one bite. The bloody scene made Yang Tian frown. However, the Tyrannosaurus Rex was a dragon beast, and killing and eating people was commonplace, so he couldn't say anything. Ling, you are already an immortal king at such a young age, far surpassing your father in his youth, Yinlong said with relief. Now that you have grown up, I don't need to discipline you anymore. You can freely use the 11 blood vessels. Those original dragon blood vessels were originally left by your Xianyuan family's predecessors. Thank you, Grandpa Yinlong. Xianyuan Ling happily took Yang Tian's hand, and the two came to the center of the temple together, where there were 11 blood vessels suspended. The central one was covered by rosy clouds, the blood of the divine dragon. The two on the left and right flashed 9 color gems, the blood of the holy dragon. The 3 on the edge flashed 6 color gems, the blood of the immortal dragon. The 5 on the periphery flashed 3 color gems, the blood of the spiritual dragon. Xianyuan Ling waved her hand, and all the 11 blood vessels were taken away by her. Then, she took out the blood of the divine dragon and handed it to Yang Tian with a smile. Yang Tian did not dare to take it by force, but observed Yinlong's attitude, but found that Yinlong had a calm face and no fluctuations. Lockyer has grown up. I believe in her ability and the person she chooses. Yinlong nodded to Yang Tian. Yang Tian was not polite and swallowed it directly. Yang Tian's goal was the god-level bloodline from the beginning. But once, he was quite hesitant between dragon bloodline and god-level lich bloodline. Bloodline skills of the dragon bloodline. Dragon physique, passive skill, increase 5 attributes. Dragon transformation, instant, all attributes double within 1 minute, then fall into weakness, and all attributes are reduced to 20%, lasting for 3 minutes. CD, 5 minutes. Bloodline skills of the god-level lich bloodline. Dark Affinity, passive skill, the chanting time of dark skills is shortened. Dark Domination, instant, manipulate the surrounding dark creatures below the god level, excluding god level dark creatures, lasting 1 minute. Lich is the strongest in the dark system, and is a natural counter to the Necromancer. In the battle, the undead you summoned with great effort will only be used by the Lich. Lich is a dark system, and is a natural counter to dark system creatures, but it has no restraint on other systems. If Yang Tian chooses the bloodline of the Lich, at least he will not be afraid of the Lich in the future, but he will not have much advantage in fighting other systems. If Yang Tian chooses the bloodline of the dragon, although he is still afraid of the Lich, he will have a strong suppressive power against other lives. After all, the dragon physique and the dragon transformation are extraordinary. Super God Undead Lord. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 397. The two major bloodlines, each has its own advantages and wonders. Once, Yang Tian couldn't make a decision for a long time, and finally decided privately, whichever bloodline he got first, he would choose, and he would not change it in the future. After all, if he changed, he would waste the previous god-level bloodline, which was really heartbreaking. After swallowing the blood of the dragon, Yang Tian's body was full of rosy clouds, and his life level was transformed in the rosy clouds. System, congratulations on obtaining the blood of the dragon. After each upgrade, physical strength add 1000 points, strength, agility, intelligence, and spirit add 100 points. The attributes that have been improved by the level are reset. System, congratulations on your promotion to the Immortal King, physical strength add 600,000, strength, agility, intelligence, and spirit add 60,000. System, congratulations on obtaining the title of Immortal King. System, your Summon Skeleton Warrior skill is enhanced. System, your Summon Skeleton Mage skill is enhanced. System, your Summon Skeleton Archer skill is enhanced. System, your Summon Zombies skill is enhanced. System prompts sounded continuously in his ears. As the rays of light dissipated, Yang Tian's life transformed and greatly enhanced. At this time, a pair of dragon horns grew on Yang Tian's forehead, just like Xianyu and Long-Er. After humans devour blood, their appearance will change more or less. Thinking back then, when Yang Tian just devoured the spirit-level goblin blood, some green stripes suddenly appeared all over his body. Of course, players can hide the appearance changes caused by this blood. At that time, Yang Tian hid those disgusting green stripes. Now it's the same. Yang Tian thinks these dragon horns are childish and decisively hides them. After obtaining the blood of the dragon, Yang Tian is level 168. Because his level exceeds 150 and he is promoted to the Immortal King, the attribute enhancement is naturally needless to say. Yang Tian summoned the skill tree and carefully checked the added summoning skills. After a while, he finally figured it out. When he was a Spirit King, he could choose from among his many undeads and summon a spirit-level undead. The CD was shared, and the maximum duration was 5 minutes, with a cooldown of 5 minutes. Now, as an Immortal King, it is still the same. He can summon an immortal-level undead. The CD was shared, and the maximum duration was 5 minutes, with a cooldown of 5 minutes. In addition, after becoming an Immortal King, the ranks of all his undeads were raised by 1 level. Now, ordinary undead such as skeleton warriors, skeleton mages, and skeleton archers are all level 168 king beasts. Intermediate undeads, werewolf zombie kings, and little demons are level 168 emperor beasts. High-level undeads, black knights, nether assassins, vampire counts, and hell three-headed dogs are level 168 sub-spirits. Wow, all the undeads under my command have been upgraded by 1 level again. This upgrade is not a little bit. Wait, what the hell is a sub-spirit? Yang Tian was startled. 5 years in his previous life, he reached the peak of Tegzu and was a level 200 god-level assassin. At that time, there were many god-level players in the whole server, but he had never seen a god-level necromancer. He didn't know much about high-end necromancers, because he had never seen one, so he didn't know what a sub-spirit was. Oh, that's how it is. Sub-spirits are not as good as spirit kings, but stronger than royal beasts, and belong to the middle level. Yang Tian compared the Black Knight, sub-spirit, with the same level spirit kings such as Xiao Jin and Carrie, and found that the attributes of both sides were far different. He compared the Black Knight with the Werewolf Zombie King, royal beast, but found that the attributes were far superior. He immediately understood. Sub-spirits are not bad, and although sub-spirits are not as good as spirit kings and spirit beasts, they also have the ability to fly and dive into the sea. In this way, I no longer have a disadvantage in air combat, but I am quite strong. Yang Tian smiled slightly. Now he can summon an immortal king and hundreds of sub-spirits, and his strength is many times stronger than yesterday. Yes, seeing you two, I seem to see the moment when the Xianyuan Empire was gloriously restored. A rare warm smile appeared on Yinlong's old face. The two are already immortal kings at such a young age, and both have the blood of the dragon. In time, they will definitely be two gods. Yinlong himself is only a saint king, so he naturally understands what the two gods represent. Grandpa Yinlong, now can you tell me who destroyed the Dragon Empire? Xianyuan Longer asked intently. In fact, the Xianyuan Empire and the Dragon Empire are the same thing, and the official name is the Dragon Empire. In fact, the Dragon Empire was established by the Xianyuan family, so it is understandable to call it the Xianyuan Empire. I think you should have guessed it more or less. It is one of the four major empires today, but the Xinwu Empire is the mastermind. It was Emperor Xinwu who killed your father, Emperor Xianyuan. If I am not mistaken, the imperial seal of the Xianyuan Empire is in the hands of Emperor Xinwu. Yinlong sighed, and a spark of hatred flashed in his dragon eyes. Xianyuan family, Dragon Valley, have a deep relationship from generation to generation. The head of the family, Xianyuan Dai, and the head of the valley, Yinlong, have a deep bond between them. When one of them dies, the other naturally hates the murderer. You are gifted, many times stronger than your father was. You will become a god soon. By then, you will kill the Emperor Xinwu with your own hands and take back the imperial seal of the Xianyuan Empire, and you can restore the country. At that time, your father and I will be very pleased. Yinlong smiled. Xianyuan Longer's eyes were red. As the only descendant of the royal family of the Xianyuan Empire, her biggest goal in life was to restore the country and take revenge, nothing else. Now that she is no longer far away from that goal, it is naturally difficult for her heart to calm down. After a while, it was almost time for Yang Tianlong to leave. At this time, Xianyuan Longer took out the 10 balls of original dragon blood again. Yang Tian had already taken away the blood of the divine dragon, and now only 2 holy, 3 immortal, and 5 spirits were left. She divided it into 5 balls, 1 holy, 2 immortal, and 2 spirits, and gave them to Yinlong. Grandpa Yinlong, Longer has always been very grateful to everyone in Dragon Valley. These original dragon bloods are considered as a return of courtesy, Xianyuan Longer said. Yinlong was not polite and nodded to accept it. First, it gave the holy dragon blood to the Tyrannosaurus Rex at the entrance of the temple. There are many types of dragons, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex is the pinnacle of the dinosaurs. The blood is strong and weak. Theoretically, there is definitely a divine beast, Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's a pity that the Tyrannosaurus Rex in Dragon Valley has only the blood of immortal beasts. If nothing unexpected happens, its upper limit is immortal beasts. And now, it has a great opportunity. By swallowing the holy dragon blood, it can evolve into a holy beast. However, unexpectedly, it refused it outright. The reason is that it is very satisfied with its body shape and does not want to become a proto-dragon. When humans devour blood, some corresponding features will appear on their bodies, such as the blue spots of goblins and the dragon horns of proto-dragons. In essence, humans are still humans. When beasts devour superior blood, they change from the inside out and completely evolve into beasts corresponding to their blood. Tyrannosaurus rex is a dinosaur. When it devours the holy blood of the proto-dragon, it is no longer a Tyrannosaurus rex, but a true holy beast proto-dragon. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 398. Heh, Yu Gai Yinlong shook his head and laughed, but he didn't force it. Immediately, Yinlong's slender dragon body moved, leaving a trail of after-images, and then he flew out of the temple. Yinlong opened his mouth and let out a long dragon roar, which contained obscure dragon language that Yang Tian couldn't understand. In a flash, dragon roars responded from all over the valley, a total of 5. It wasn't just one dragon beast roaring 5 times, but 5 dragon beasts roared once each. A few minutes later, 5 dragon beasts came to the temple, a flame dragon, 2 pterosaurs, and 2 velociraptors. Hiza, you stupid donkey, now you have such a good opportunity to evolve into a holy beast, but you don't know how to cherish it. Yanlong stared at the Tyrannosaurus rex and laughed. It looks like a primitive dragon, but its whole body is made of fire elements. In fact, it is not a primitive dragon, but an elemental dragon. At the same time, it is surrounded by 6-color treasure light, and it is a fairy beast like the Tyrannosaurus rex. Tisk, I don't want to become a proto-dragon. We dinosaurs are the most handsome and domineering. You elemental dragons are the ugliest, so of course it doesn't matter, Tyrannosaurus said disdainfully, which made Yanlong's face stiffen. Although he was angry, Yanlong didn't say much. What handsome or beautiful, strength is king. The 2 pterosaurs are spiritual beasts, and they are also one of the few powerful fighting forces in the current Dragon Valley. The last 2 velociraptors are just royal beasts, and they are already very old. The hidden dragon began to distribute blood. Yanlong got the blood of the holy dragon, the 2 pterosaurs got the blood of the fairy dragon, and the 2 velociraptors got the blood of the spirit dragon. Some people may ask here, why not send 5 royal beasts to devour blood? That is the most cost-effective, and it can keep Yanlong and pterosaurs, adding to the fighting power. It is worth mentioning that when humans devour blood, they are still humans, just gaining the power of blood, and the success rate is 100%. When beasts devour the blood of superiors, it is evolution, and the success rate is not 100%. In other words, evolution has the risk of failure, and the consequence of failure is death. Generally speaking, the stronger the strength, the higher the success rate of evolution. For example, the probability of the flame dragon swallowing the holy dragon bloodline and evolving into the holy beast original dragon is higher. If the velociraptor swallows the holy dragon bloodline, the success rate of evolution is relatively low. So Yinlong dare not ask for any cost-effectiveness. Such an opportunity should be exactly what you expect, so let's get started, Yinlong said. Immediately, the 5 dragons swallowed the bloodline respectively, and 5 pure golden rays suddenly soared into the sky. In the golden rays, the life levels of the 5 dragons changed. When the golden rays dissipated, the flame dragon, pterosaur, and velociraptor all disappeared, leaving only 5 original dragons hovering in the air. The bullhead, snake body, eagle claws, and majestic breath fully show the dignity and majesty of the Eastern dragon. Of course, the 5 original dragons are of different sizes, and the colorful lights around them are also different. After all, there are holy beasts, fairy beasts, and spirit beasts. Very good, all evolved successfully. Yinlong was overjoyed and comforted. Yang Tianlong was fortunate to witness such a grand occasion, and was about to say goodbye and leave, but suddenly there was a loud explosion from the direction of the valley entrance. Yang Tian and others immediately looked up and found that countless human warriors were coming on the clouds, and all of them had the Shinryu badge engraved on their chests. Obviously, they were all general-level warriors of the Shinryu Empire. Why, they came here. Xian Yuanlong's pretty little face turned pale, and a complex feeling passed through her heart. She could roughly guess that the Shinryu Empire's army encircled the Dragon Valley, which was related to her. The people who came to the Dragon Valley from the Shinryu Empire this time were all generals, all of them were strong men above the Spirit King. Above the valley entrance, countless human warriors were surrounded by colorful lights, and there were no fewer 9-color treasure lights. They were all Saint Kings. The Shinryu Empire's hand was too big. More importantly, among the powerful men, there was a majestic figure wearing a glazed yellow robe like an emperor, and his body was surrounded by brilliant rays of light, showing incomparable dignity and inviolable majesty. When they saw that figure, Yang Tianlong, Yinlong Tyrannosaurus Rex and the original dragons present all trembled. Although I don't know why, since even the Emperor Shinryu has come personally, Dragon Valley is doomed. Longer, you guys hurry up. Yinlong had seen a big battle, and at this moment he remained calm, and said to Yang Tianlong in an unquestionable tone. Xian Yuanlong's eyes were red, and tears kept falling. She seemed to have foreseen the cruel scene that was about to happen. Yang Tian was trembling with excitement, and it seemed that something hot was rolling in his heart. As a man, no matter what his position was, he was unwilling to escape in this situation. In his previous life, he dared to go to the insect star alone, and now in the game, he had nothing to fear. But he had to flee. No matter what, he had to take Xian Yuanlong away. The Shinryu Emperor and his men were extremely fast. They were still above the valley entrance the moment before, and in the blink of an eye, they were not far from the temple. Because of their powerful pressure, the valley was filled with dragon roars like waves. The hidden dragon Tyrannosaurus Rex and the original dragon were also ready for battle. A big battle was about to begin. Xian Yuanlong's eyes were empty, her face was ashen, and there were crystal tears on her pretty face, which was extremely sad and beautiful. Yang Tian woke her up and said, "Don't die. If you die, you can't even take revenge." In his previous life, Yang Tian regretted it in his heart when he was dying on the insect star. Because of him, Huang Mao also followed him. He indirectly killed his best friend in a moment of impulse. Although Huang Mao didn't care, he cared. And at that time, his life consciousness was blurred, and he suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness in his heart. He had not yet avenged his great hatred, and he could not rest in peace even if he died. Fortunately, God gave him a chance to be reborn, and at the moment, he was also guiding Xian Yuanlong as a person who had experienced it. Xian Yuanlong woke up instantly, and kept muttering, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Seeing this, Yang Tian decisively grabbed Xian Yuanlong's little hand, and the two of them quickly teleported away. Of course, Yang Tian could not see the situation in the Dragon Valley next. But the result was inevitable. The Dragon Valley was destroyed, and all the dragon beasts in the valley, including the young dragons, would be killed cleanly. After that, the Dragon Valley without dragon beasts would not live up to its name and become a tragic history. Yang Tianlong met with Alice and others. After a brief exchange, Alice and others began to comfort Xian Yuanlong who was crying. Yang Tian was also very uncomfortable, and his mentality was unstable, so he went offline to rest. It took Yang Tian 3 days to stabilize his emotions and go online again. Next, he still had to kill monsters and level up. Yang Tian already had the blood of a dragon, so he only needed to level up without thinking. Once he reached that level, he would naturally become a saint or a god. A month later, Yang Tian swept through the Sea of Ruins, reached level 170, and finally came to the last island. This island was the Cyclops tribe, which had civilization like the dwarf tribe of Kree and was considered a subhuman race. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super God Undead Lord. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 399. There are countless cyclops on the island. They are more than 2 meters tall, with human bodies, one eye in the middle, a basin-sized mouth, and beast-like sharp teeth in the mouth. They are pitch black and look wild and strong. Most of the Cyclops are world lords of level 175-180, which are very powerful, but Yang Tian swept them ruthlessly. Nowadays, the weakest undead under his command are all king beasts, and he can summon hundreds of sub-spirits at will. He will not take the mere lords seriously even if there are more. After sweeping a wave easily, Yang Tian was no longer interested and continued to move forward to the coast. There is still a vast sea ahead, and you can't see the end at a glance. That is the world ocean. The world ocean is very large, but the Sea of Relics, that is, the China Branch Sea, is also not small. Yang Tianzhan repeatedly looked at the critical point, that is, the last island of the China Branch Sea, and could not see anything. So Yang Tian stepped on the sole of his foot, swept into the sky, flew infinitely high through the clouds, and then looked down at the world plate that seemed to be shrinking below. At this time, the difference between the world ocean and the China Sea is obvious. It turns out that the China Sea is just one of the tributaries of the giant world ocean. The China Sea is as small as a river flowing into the sea and into the arms of its mother. Even if Yang Tian looked from a high altitude, he still couldn't see the whole picture of the world ocean, and could only see a small part of it. Yang Tian flew forward, trying to really reach the world ocean, but was blocked by some force. System, you need to reach level 180 before you can enter the world ocean. Yang Tian could only retreat and return to the coast. Each war zone has a branch sea, and all these branch seas are tributaries of the world ocean. In the end, the branch seas will flow into the world ocean. The world is connected. Through their own branch seas and the world ocean, players can reach another war zone, form trade, interaction, and even killing and war. Level 180 is required to enter the world ocean, which means that level 180 is the starting point for the start of the world war. At Yang Tian's call, after a while, Carrie came to this coast and stood side by side with Yang Tian. Carrie is now level 170, but he is still a spirit king, and his combat power is not enough to match Yang Tian. According to your elders, the Titans also live in the Sea of Ruins. I have searched all the islands on the sea. It seems that they live under the deep sea, Yang Tian said. Carrie did not speak, but nodded. Then let's go to the deep sea together. Yang Tian and Carrie entered the deep sea together. Above the Spirit King, they can fly into the sky and dive into the sea without fear of water pressure. This time when entering the deep sea, Yang Tian and Carrie were not affected at all. They swam in the deep sea, looking for various ancient cities, and thus found the Titans. On the other side, there is a hidden map called Sword Tomb. Sword Tomb is the cemetery of swords. It is a dark valley. There is sword energy and resentment visible to the naked eye above the sky, and even the unwilling sound of swords can be heard occasionally. In the valley, countless waste swords were lying or stuck in the ground, piled up like a mountain. For sword cultivators, this is not a treasure land, but a place where they need to lament and lament. The quality of those waste swords is high or low, but they are either rusty, damaged, or broken. In short, none of them can be used. In the center of the valley, there is a straight figure. Even though the waste swords are piled up like a mountain, he still found an empty space and did not step on any of them. He is about 27 or 28 years old, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, tied hair, and his face is not handsome, but his temperament is cold and resolute, with a unique flavor. The most eye-catching thing is that he carries 2 swords on his back. If Yang Tian is here, he will definitely recognize this person. It is the Sword Emperor. The Sword Emperor suddenly took out a gem, which is half red and half dark, extremely strange, and now it is in the dark environment of the valley. It looks even more wonderful. This is the yin-yang love bead, which the Sword Emperor got after completing a hidden task about Ganjiang and Moi. This bead is a token of Ganjiang and Moi's love, which can sense the souls of Ganjiang and Moi within a certain range. It is through the traction of this bead that the Sword Emperor can come to the Sword Tomb. Seeing that the yin-yang love bead reacted so strongly, the Sword Emperor could not help but conclude that the souls of Ganjiang and Moi were here. Sure enough, the Sword Emperor did not wait long, and two illusory figures, a man and a woman, flew out from the dark depths of the Sword Tomb. The man had messy long hair, a torn black robe, and was unkempt. His face was rough and heroic, his eyes were bright, and even as a ghost, he was surrounded by yin energy. He still couldn't resist his masculine energy. To use an adjective, it was really manly. He was Ganjiang, holding a red giant sword that was equally illusory and seemed to have no texture. The woman was feminine and cold, with an icy aura all over her body, extremely yin and evil. She was Moi, holding an illusory, dark blue small sword. The swords held by Ganjiang and Moi are Ganjiang sword and Moi sword. The two swords carried by the Sword Emperor are also Ganjiang sword and Moi sword. All four swords are just hero fragments. Ganjiang sword is extremely masculine and has both light and fire attributes, but it can only use fire attribute under normal circumstances. Unless Moi sword is next to it, it can use both light and fire attributes. Dual attribute weapons. All the attribute strengths corresponding to the dual attributes are effective. This is an extreme. If the dual attribute strength is high, the damage will be outrageous. If the dual attribute strength is low, the damage will be double reduced by the enemy's attribute resistance. The Moi sword is extremely evil and possesses both dark and ice attributes. Under normal circumstances, it can only use the ice attribute. Unless the Ganjiang sword is next to it, then it can use both attributes. Two swords, equally extreme. Two dual attribute weapons are very targeted. It is impossible for the enemy to have high resistance to all four attributes. They all have more or less defects. For example, Yang Tian has extremely high dark resistance, but the other three resistances are not high. Then the user can take one to attack, and put the other aside, because just putting it aside can stimulate the attributes of the other sword. Of course, only the Sword Emperor can use two swords at the same time. Apart from him, Ganjiang Moi is more suitable for couples, or gay swordsmen. Young swordsmen, you can actually use two swords in mid-air. Ganjiang swept Ganjiang Moi carried by the Sword Emperor, and immediately laughed wildly. Very good, you are qualified to own the Ganjiang Moi sword, and your future achievements will only be higher than the two of us. At the beginning, Ganjiang gave the Sword Emperor a big thumbs up, which was normal. The existence of the Sword Emperor was indeed the dream of all sword cultivators. Even a figure like Ganjiang was envious. Being praised, the Sword Emperor looked calm and bowed immediately. He was not bowing to Ganjiang and Moi. He had always been arrogant. He would never bow to someone who was about to become his war servant, no matter how strong the other person was. What he was bowing to was the Sword Tomb, or the countless useless swords in the Sword Tomb. Super God Undead Lord. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 400. The Sword Emperor has never been an ordinary swordsman. Even in the real family, he has always been accompanied by swords and danced with swords. In other words, whether in the game or in reality, he is a real swordsman. Swordsmen and swords have a special feeling of mutual appreciation. For a real swordsman, the sword is not an ordinary thing, but has spirituality and deserves respect and equal treatment. In the Sword Tomb, the sword corpses are everywhere, making it difficult to step on. Even so, the Sword Emperor can still find an open space without stepping on any sword. And now, a war is about to break out. At that time, the Sword Emperor thinks that he can't care too much, so he can only bow to the 10,000 swords to show his apology. Interesting. Ganjong saw the Sword Emperor's actions, smiled again, and admired it very much in his heart. Fight! The Sword Emperor suddenly roared, and the two swords behind him came out of the sheath, killing Ganjong and Moi respectively. 3 years after the launch of Taegzu, the Sword Emperor has grown greatly. He has committed himself to the Water Alliance. Thanks to the Water Alliance, he is also a member of the first force in the national server and occupies the best resources in the national server. Now, he has reached level 165 and obtained the Spirit Essence, which makes him a level 165 Spirit King. Ganjong and Moi have 2 souls and 4 spirits. They were both level 150 Fairy Kings when they were alive. The current dead souls of Ganjong and Moi are the last heroic souls and are all level 150 Spirit Kings. The Sword Emperor is alone and actually challenged 2 Spirit Kings. It turned out to be the sword control technique. Ganjong and Moi were shocked and could not dodge in time, and were hit. Moi's sword hit Ganjong. Ganjiang's sword hit Moi. The damage was off the charts. Ganjong and Moi suffered billions of damage respectively, and their health bars dropped by 1 level. It turns out that although Ganjong and Moi are lovers, they complement and counteract each other. Ganjong is extremely strong and yang, with extremely high light and fire attributes, but extremely low dark ice attributes, so low that it is negative. And Moi's sword has Ganjong's sword next to it, which stimulates the attributes of the couple sword. It just happens to have the dual attributes of dark ice, and it can deal explosive damage at once, which is simply terrifying. Similarly, Ganjong's sword also stabbed Moi. At this moment, Ganjong and Moi are both dead souls, their bodies are illusory and ethereal, and they are immune to physical attacks. As strong as the Sword Emperor, he certainly knows how to deal with it. He has already used magic conduction potions to convert short-term physical output into magic output. Moi, you are very smart, you already know the morality of the couple sword, Ganjong said. Not only that, he can use 2 swords by himself, which is really a rare sword cultivator, Moi said in a cold voice, and he also admired the Sword Emperor. After speaking, Ganjong and Moi simultaneously aroused lotus-like fighting spirit around their bodies, one on the left and one on the right, and attacked the Sword Emperor respectively. The Sword Emperor instantly opened his Dochi, and his Dochi level was higher than Ganjong and Moi's, which was purple Dochi. As long as the player upgrades his military rank, he can have the corresponding Dochi. It is actually difficult to upgrade the military rank, but it is not difficult for the Sword Emperor, who is one of the best in the national server. As for the Dochi of NPCs, they have to practice it themselves. Many powerful NPCs do not have Dochi. For example, Xianyu and Long Alice, Carrie, and others do not have Dochi. Shuawa. The 2 swords returned to his hands. The Sword Emperor held 2 swords and faced Ganjong and Moya at the same time, and he was able to take advantage of it and retreat without losing the upper hand. As both are Spirit Kings, NPC Spirit Kings are generally stronger than player Spirit Kings, and their strength is the terrifying blood volume. The Sword Emperor is a level 165 Spirit King, and his HP has just exceeded 10 million, while Ganjong and Moya are level 150 Spirit Kings, and their HP has exceeded 20 billion. In addition, the damage and speed are actually the same. Speaking of which, the Sword Emperor is higher in level and has a better speed. Besides, he was a double-blade swordsman, and he had long been accustomed to fighting 2 people at once. He fought Ganjong and Moya fiercely. For the Sword Emperor, Ganjong and Moya had no advantage. They complemented each other and counteracted each other. He used the couple sword to target each other, and his combat power was off the charts. No matter how high the opponent's life was, it was useless. Under the targeting of the couple sword, the Sword Emperor's combat power was extremely high, and he gradually took the initiative. He challenged the two spirit kings alone, but beat them into a mess. Later, Ganjong and Mo Ye, who were left with little blood, did not even dare to parry and could only dodge in frustration. At this point, the ending was already determined. In the end, the Sword Emperor drew his sword and slashed, and finally harvested the two dead souls, and a large number of spoils exploded in the air and fell below. System: you have collected the soul of the hero Ganjong and obtained Ganjiang's soul ball. System: you have collected the soul of the hero Moye and obtained Moye's soul ball. System: you get the Ganjiang sword, 6 colors/hero equipment. System: you get the Moy sword, 6 colors/hero equipment. The system prompts sounded continuously in his ears. The Sword Emperor can be said to have accomplished his mission. He has waited too long for this day. The Sword Emperor waved his hand, and two crystal coffins appeared in front of him, with the bodies of Ganjiang and Moy lying in them. This was what he had prepared long ago. He was also lucky. Ordinary players could not revive a hero in their entire lives, but he resurrected too. Immediately, the Sword Emperor took out the fountain of life again. After a while, the cold wind blew, and Ganjiang and Moy suddenly opened their eyes, climbed out of the crystal coffin, and knelt on one knee to the Sword Emperor to show their loyalty. The Sword Emperor glanced at them, and a feeling of pride arose in his heart. Now Ganjiang and Moy have returned to their peak state before their death. They are both level 150 fairy kings. At this time, even if he uses the effect of the couple sword, he is probably not the opponent of the two. The Sword Emperor took out the Ganjiang sword and the Moy sword and handed them to the two respectively. The two knelt for a long time and refused to get up, and did not take the sword. Ganjiang said, "Young master, you are a genius in swordsmanship. You can use two swords. The Ganjiang and Moye couple swords will be more suitable in your hands." "Of course I know this." The Sword Emperor smiled arrogantly and said, "It's just that now you two are much stronger than me, and you can better play the role of the couple sword. Don't get me wrong, I'm not giving it to you. I will take it back after my strength is further enhanced." Ganjiang and Moye took the sword and stood up. In a certain range, the two swords rang against each other. The Ganjiang sword was red all over, and a dazzling white light appeared on the edge, which was extremely strong and yang. The Moye sword was dark blue all over, and there was an undercurrent surging on the edge, which was extremely yin and evil. Seeing this, the Sword Emperor became more and more happy, as if he had broken a heavy shackle and returned to the peak. Muddy water, the dormancy and forbearance over the past year have finally not been in vain. Next, I will take back everything I lost, so that you can also taste the pain of being trampled underfoot. The Sword Emperor smiled grimly. At the same time, Fenchen Lingyun led countless powerful men to rush into the Sword Tomb, holding their arms and shouting. The Sword Emperor once ushered in the peak moment of his life. "Boss, you are so awesome. You got 2 immortal king war servants and 2 immortal weapons at once. It's been more than a year. Finally, I don't have to endure it anymore, and I don't have to suffer the bullying of those people in the Water Alliance anymore. Haha, speaking of which, we should thank the Water Alliance for taking us in. Otherwise, how could we be here today? I guess we would have become a third or fourth-rate force."